And if you're joining us this morning, this is the community partner meetup session featuring partners that work with social service agencies or our social service agencies, or also we might have some of our youth partnerships also joining at this time. I'm going to change the agenda a little bit because some of our partners, especially our new partners, thank you for jumping right in, are squeezing this into a schedule, so into an already tight schedule. So we're going to start with community partner introductions fairly soon. Before we do that, though, I wanted to ask Rene Casas to also introduce himself. And if you're a student joining in, especially if you're new to service learning, you'll be seeing Rene a lot behind the scenes. So you could go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rene Casas. I'm the Community Partnerships and Evaluation Specialist for the Service Learning Institute. So if you have any questions regarding student placements, or if you have any questions regarding any updates that you need on your site of the database that we manage, My Service Learning Placement for students, please reach out to me and I'll assist you. So welcome.
Okay. So with that, I'm just going to share my screen really, really briefly, just to point out a few things, to sort of like put some context into today's discussion. So let me just do that really fast. I just wanted to say that much of what you'll see today and hear today is also on the Service Learning website. If you are just joining us, know that today's session is going to be recorded. And if you have questions, go ahead and add those to the chat. And here's what our website looks like. And again, it's kind of one-stop shopping. If you go here, especially if you're a new student new to service learning, you'll find today's presentations as well as all the information you need on where to find service opportunities here on the student webpage. In terms of the goal for this week is to get started by talking with your instructor and community partners. And in order to do that, it's certainly helpful to meet community partners. And so what we have for you today are community partners, including one who's brand new to our whole effort. So I'm going to go ahead and ask that Kevin Scott and Carolyn McGraw introduce themselves and talk a little bit about this really cool project, the Social Bridging Project.
Good morning. Thank you for having us, everyone. My name is Kevin Scott. I am the Bridger Operations Director with the Social Bridging Project with the Listos, California program that is stretching statewide, providing resources and assistance to all vulnerable Californians in regards to disaster readiness, as well as dealing with the COVID wellness checks that we have going on throughout the state. So I'm just going to be happy to share some information with you today about what it is that we are doing here at the Social Bridging Project. Can everyone see my screen? Good? Well? Great. Yes. Happy to see that happen. All right, so just a little bit about what we are doing here at the Social Bridging Project. Again, we are a volunteer opportunity that's going to be remote, where you'll be able to reach out to vulnerable Californians to do wellness COVID checks throughout the state, as well as helping Californians become what we call disaster ready. It is a phone banking opportunity that you'll be able to do from your computer, from the comfort of your own home. And one of the best stories that I hear very frequently from all of our Bridgers is being able to talk to Californians well outside of their local community and get to know and have a meaningful impact on many different people's lives. So just a little bit about what the Social Bridging Project does. Again, as I said, it is a phone banking opportunity where you get the chance to speak with different Californians, helping them get resources that they may need, get them material, free material mailed out to them that can help them become disaster ready. Each one of our volunteers, that means you, will be supported by our kind and informative and patient community managers who manage all of our shifts. Our shifts are conducted on Zoom and utilize technology called Through Talk in order to call and access Californians. You will actually not have any of your private information put forward as well too, which is great. We use our phone numbers, so your number never shows up on the other person's end of the call, which is also really helpful. We make sure that we provide you with the comprehensive materials that you need in order to become what we call successful bridgers. So we have a comprehensive training that takes about 2 hours to go through, as well as when you're making your calls, you'll have plenty of reference material to make sure that you're getting out the best resources to Californians that are out there. And you won't just be working with Monterey Bay students and faculty, you'll be working with students from other CSUs, as well as emergency teams from across the state who also have volunteered in order to make these life-saving calls. So just to have an idea of some of the impact that we've had across the state, in the last 6 months, we've had over 72,000 conversations with Californians, 30,000 of those being wellness conversations, and 43,000 of those being disaster readiness calls. Inside of our wellness conversations, you'll be talking with Californians over the age of 60, getting them connected with food banks, rental assistance and moratorium information, getting them connected with other resources that they may need in order to continue on with their lives through this pandemic. And as of recent, we are also helping people get connected with information about the vaccines. And with our disaster readiness calls, our main goal there is to get out what we created is a disaster readiness guide, which has made becoming disaster ready accessible to many Californians, as well as helping them sign up for alerts for wildfires, floods, and mudslides that may be impacting their communities. And what we've also seen is that our work is very pertinent and immediate. One of our most impactful stories is that we talked to a woman who the following week after her disaster readiness call with us actually had her community experience a wildfire. And our call's also available in Spanish as well too, and we will soon be moving into other AAPI languages. So while we are also impacting Californians, our calls are having impact on bridgers as well. So we are happy to engage with all of you and bring you on board. So what do our shifts look like? Well, once you're finished with your training with us, you'll be invited to join our Slack workspace where you'll find our all the information you'll need for your shifts as well as to make calls. You'll join into our Zoom, you'll check in, you'll get your assignment, your call assignment for the day, and then you're good to go for your shift. Our shifts run from Wednesday through Sunday between the times of 10 a.m. and 7 p.m. So we're able to fit around both your work schedule and your school schedule. And you'll also be able to meet those other bridgers that we talked about earlier. In the top left, you'll see Raji. She's logged in over 220 hours on the dialer. So we're also able to report back hours as well too for all of you. So if you do have a need for hours, either for particular programs or assignments, we are able to make sure that we can get those hours that you spent on the dialer reported directly to you. So what the sign up process looks like, once you have access to our sign up form, we'll send you an NDA. Once you complete that NDA, because you'll have access to people's private information, we'll send you out a training information packet. So you'll be able to get take that taken care of. And we have live trainings as well as video trainings that you can do at your convenience to get trained up to be able to make calls. We'll send you out an invite to our Slack workspace, and then you'll be able to schedule yourself for times on the dialer. So I know it's a lot of information all at once, but I'm happy to facilitate any sort of questions that anyone may have about what it is that we're doing or how you become part of our amazing project here.
So thanks so much. Yeah, any questions? And I know sometimes, especially if you're really new to all of this, it still can feel intimidating to jump in with a question, but remember, we're all on screen. You can keep your video off. So if you've got any questions, jump in now because Kevin's gonna have to leave shortly. So any questions from, and we've got faculty on, I see some faculty on the call as well. Anybody have any questions about what's involved in becoming a bridger? And just so you know, on our end, and we'll talk about this a little bit later after the community partner presentations, if you were to decide to choose the Social Bridging Project as a partner, and let's say you're ready to go starting next week, you'll be registering for this placement as a short-term agreement partner because we're in process. We're going to be in process of making them an official partner, but it takes a little while, but that's not going to hold up your ability to get started. You'll just fill out the short-term agreement. So any questions before we say goodbye to Kevin?
So Kevin, when a student registers for the placement at Social Bridges, what's the time frame from registering to starting their service? Because a lot of students have asked questions around like, well, if I want to do my service, how fast do I start? Or I'm pretty sure you get that a lot. But when a student first registers, they're interested in being at your site. What's the time frame of them starting their service at your site?
About 48 to 72 hours. So pretty good turnaround time, especially with everything being remote. When you sign the NDA, by the next day, you'll be able to receive your training information. Once you complete your training, that next day, we'll send you out the Slack invite.
Awesome.
Great. Any other questions?
I have a question sent to me. Who can I contact if I decide to volunteer for your site? Is there an email in specific?
Yes, so if you go to the Service Learning website and you click on that link that says Spreadsheet Spring 21 Opportunities, it's in alphabetical order, and you'll see, actually it's highlighted in yellow, it says New Social Bridging Project, and it's got the email contacts to, and the website, the video to go to I think the link to go to the video to get started. And if there's another link you want to send me, if you put it in the chat, I will add that as well. Because I believe actually, Carolyn, your email is in that, is in the contact list. So if you want me to change that, let me know. You can put it in the chat and I can do that in minutes.
Sounds great. So I'll send you the email address. That'll be great for them to contact, as well as a sign up form to make that process much quicker. So
Great.
they'll be able to click right on there, put in their information, and they'll have the NDA and get into that process.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, if you have, and other partners also have linked their volunteer form to our spreadsheet. So yeah, that's the best thing. So it's just point and click for students to get started. Wonderful. Any other questions, especially if you're a student joining? Any questions come to mind about social bridging? All right. So if not, thank you so much for, first of all, like I said, jumping in so quickly and becoming a partner. It's just a really great opportunity to help out, in real time with all of what's going on in real time. So thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you for having us. And we all look forward to seeing you on the dialer.
All right. Next, I'd like to introduce Sol Rivera. And I thought I saw Sol from the Immigration Task Force, but I don't see her now. Maybe she lost her connection. Do we have any other community partners that are currently here to present? So I'm hoping that Sol comes back because Immigration Task Force was scheduled to present and she was here a few minutes ago. But while we're waiting for other community partners, what I'll do is go ahead and go into the presentation. Let me ask by a show of either Zoom hands, or you want to put your video on and raise your hand. How many people are, first of all, how many people are new to service learning? If you could raise your hands and let me know. All right, so we've got a few brand new people. Welcome. How many people have, this is their first community partner outreach presentation? Or have people attended others? Okay, great. So if you have attended others, some of what I'm going to say you've heard before, but sometimes redundancy can be helpful, especially during crazy times. So what I'm going to do is share my screen again and kind of walk through some information that will be helpful for you as you think about where you might do your remote service. And I'll just ask if Renee or anyone, please interrupt me if a community partner does join.
Okay.
Okay, great. All right. So I just wanted to go back by talking a little bit about examples of remote service projects. This is our second semester of doing remote service. You know, we were all thrown into this, students, faculty, partners alike, we were all thrown into this last fall. And at least now we can share with you some concrete examples of what's possible when you're doing remote service. So when we're talking about remote, it can't be face-to-face or in contact. We can't even, the CSUs are not even allowing what might be referred to as low contact service. So what we're talking about is online or phone outreach and interaction with others. You might serve at the K-12 level. If there's anyone on this Zoom that's interested in tutoring students in the K-12 system, that's a possibility. You'll want to make sure that you look at our website so you'll see the information on what you need to do in order to participate in that. You might also work with youth in an after-school program. So that's another way that you would do that. And again, it will all be online via Zoom. You might work with as adults. So one of our partners and a long-term partner that's worked with us is the Central Coast Citizenship Project. And their whole goal is to help immigrants prepare for the US citizenship exam. They had to spin on a dime like everyone else, and now they're doing all that really powerful work via Zoom. So you could help in that, help an organization like them. Another way that you could serve online is by helping one of our many nonprofits with fundraising. As you can imagine, many of our partners, especially if they sponsored runs or auctions or all kinds of cool interactive things, all of that stuff had to be moved online. And so there's a tremendous need for help to create social media and to just help a nonprofit figure out, how do I do an online auction via Zoom or some other platform. You could also do projects that involve creating educational or marketing materials, such as lesson plan hyperdocs for teachers, or again, creating social media, helping a nonprofit either create or improve their website, helping produce videos for a variety of purposes, fundraising or public education or public service. So here's an example, one of my favorite examples that was created last fall. And this is what I mean, or what we refer to as a hyperdoc project. This was developed for 5th graders by Lauren Tiffany last fall. And she created a game about, that was designed to teach students about understanding their carbon footprint. And I think the name of the game is, how do we impact the earth? And and if you were to click on any of her game board, pieces, it takes you to an educational either video or a document, like in this case, how to change the law through a democratic process. So this is an example of something that was created for a class that you might get involved with doing. Here's the Central Coast Citizenship Project. So if you're on the call and you're new to service learning, and let's say graphic design is not your thing, you don't consider yourself artistic, although you may well be, don't worry. Again, there's all kinds of ways to support people, whether it's through the Social Bridging Project or nonprofits like the Central Coast Citizenship Project. Lots of ways to support adults as well as young people. Others examples of remote service projects, these are educational posters that were created for the Monterey Peninsula Regional Park District. And they are now appearing, as we speak, online, and I think also in person, because some parks are open in parks throughout the state. And so this was something that was developed. And I just want to point your attention to what's at the bottom. If you were to get involved and create something, know that you'll also get credit. So this is a great opportunity to start building your portfolio. And related to that, quite a few of our partners are CSUMB alumni. So often service learning is a launching pad and a pathway for students to start their first jobs. Let me pause and ask, are there any questions so far, or do we have any community partners that have joined on the call, or is Immigration Task Force back on the call?
Okay. No, they're not.
Okay. So, any questions so far? So if no questions, let me talk a little bit about the types of remote service that's available for spring 2021. And so, oops, I don't know all of what you're seeing. Sorry about that. So there's 4 types of remote service, and the focus for this week is to, is for you to take a look at what's available from existing CSUMB community partners, existing and soon to be CSUMB community partners. So regardless of where you live on the peninsula, if you came to CSUMB, we're hoping that you were really interested in getting to know the Monterey Bay community. And if that's a goal, then your first stop in terms of really looking for service opportunities would be to check out this spreadsheet, our Spring 21 remote service opportunities. And I'm gonna take a chance that everything's gonna work. And so if you were to click on that link, and this link is also in your, is on the student webpage. It might also be in your iLearn or Canvas because faculty have these links as well. The link that I clicked on takes you to our Spring 2021 remote service opportunities. It's a straight alphabetical order list. And if it's a blue link, hyperlink, that means it's going to take you to a video about that particular partner. So you can just start right here and see all of what's available. And again, the social bridging project is on here. As you'll see, new social bridging project, and that used to be highlighted. I'll go back in and make sure that happens. So this is one way where you can find, your opportunities. The other way that you can find out about community partner opportunities is by clicking on the link that is also on the student page that takes you to our videos. And I think, or Flipgrid videos created by community partners about their current remote projects. And this list, unlike the spreadsheet list, is organized by kind of content area. I do encourage you, they're just, most of these videos are 90 seconds, maybe, about 90 seconds. So it wouldn't take long to watch really all of them. And depending on what you're interested in and what you like to do, it's worth it, because let's say you are someone that likes to create graphics and you're interested in childhood obesity. Well, we don't have a lot of healthcare partners. However, we have many after school partners that might be very interested in having you put together a project teaching youth about how to prevent, about eating right or healthy eating. So it's worth listening to and watching as many videos as possible, because it might give you ideas on where you can serve. And this just to give you an idea of all of what's here. Since we're in talking about social services, I will pause, sorry for the rapid scrolling. But for example, Dorothy's Place, let's just go ahead and take a look at Dorothy's Place. And I'm gonna hope that, Renee, just jump in if you can't hear the audio, but I think I've shared my computer sound, hopefully.
Hi, my name is Antonia Jardines, and I am an AmeriCorps VIP member with Dorothy's Place Volunteer Infrastructure Program here in Salinas. We are a nonprofit, and our commitment is that with love, respect, and compassion, provide essential services and transitional support to people experiencing the injustice of homelessness and extreme poverty. Please check our website at dorothysplace.org to learn about our programs and what Dorothy does for our community. As most of you already know, all services will be done remotely, so there is not a schedule for the spring semester. If you have any questions, please email Lee Hulkist at dorothysplace.org, lee.hulquist at dorothysplace.org, or antonia.jardines at dorothysplace.org. We look forward working with you.
And so Dorothy's Place had quite a few service learners this past term. One thing that I would also say is, and again, you'll find all of these videos on this spreadsheet that's linked to the service learning website. You'll want to check both the video sheet as well as the spreadsheet periodically as partners are updating their offerings. Some new partners are coming on, and also some partners are dropping out. So you'll want to check that periodically. So the other type of service that you could do remotely is identifying a service site near you. Again, keeping in mind that it's remote only. So let's say you are in the Sacramento area, and instead of serving remotely with Dorothy's, there's an organization that works with people who are housing insecure, the homeless, right in your backyard. You might approach them and ask, is there remote work that you might do with them? And if they say yes, then you would talk with your professor to make sure that it fits with the learning outcomes for your class. And if it's all a go, then you would go ahead and register with them using a short-term agreement. And we'll talk about what that looks like in a few minutes. The other type of service that you could do is with a virtual volunteer hub. And so we have a list of Spring 21 remote service hubs, and they're called hubs because it's a collection of, it's an organization, usually a larger organization, that's basically organized service opportunities from organizations all over the country and sometimes throughout the world. And this is what that spreadsheet looks like. Again, you'll find it on the website. This one is organized, again, roughly by topic area. Volunteer Match includes multiple organizations, where some of these are very specific. Project Honor, which was used quite a bit last fall. This project involves you writing letters to honor and support healthcare workers. You can write as many letters as you like, and so that's how you would earn your hours. The one thing that we remind students about is that if you're going to use anything on this list, you want to really, first of all, make sure that you read everything carefully, because in order to sign up for a project, it sometimes involves multiple steps. You also want to speak with your professor about it, again, to make sure that it is okay with them. And then last but not least, you're also going to be registering this as a short-term agreement, simply because you will serve as your own site supervisor. The last type of service that's also possible to do remotely is what we refer to as service at home. And that involves helping out. It might involve helping with tutoring a sibling who's also sheltered in place, and you've got, busy parents and a stressed out young one trying to figure out, how do they stick with looking at a screen all day. So perhaps you might help by tutoring someone who's right in your home, a sibling. Service at home could also involve helping someone who's elderly in your home, helping a relative. The main point is that, again, it's remote only. So if you are assisting other people face to face, they need to be living with you. You could also, again, serve at home. And we had quite a few people say, well, I'm actually going to be tutoring my niece who lives, 2 doors down, and we're going to be tutoring via Zoom. So that's also fine. And again, you're going to put yourself as a site supervisor. So let me pause here and ask, are there any questions about any of the types of remote service that's available to you?
Andrea, I had a question about service at home.
Sure.
I was just wondering, I just actually sent you an email and I'm like, oh, I'm going to pop into this. And it just happened to be you were talking about it.
Perfect.
What kind of paperwork do they fill out for that?
They do the short-term agreement as well.
So that's it, just short-term agreement.
It's a short-term agreement, and what they're putting in as the service site, they type in service at home. But okay. Service at home, everything is either going to be a short-term agreement or the traditional learning agreement, all through MySLP. Those are basically the 2 types of agreements.
Okay, and then I would be the site supervisor, basically.
For service at home, the student is the site supervisor. There are some options. If you are willing to be the site supervisor, you could be. But normally for service at home, the students themselves are, Or if they are working, let's say they're doing tutoring of a third grade sister. And let's say the teacher of that third grader, knows like, oh, you're tutoring. I don't mind being your site supervisor to give you some feedback. Or let's say the mom, they're tutoring a niece or a nephew. And so it's the aunt or uncle who's the parent of that person says, oh, I'm put my email address down. I wouldn't mind being your site supervisor. So that's your other option. So it could be the student, a relative, or someone who makes sense in the context of what's being done, or it could be you. More than likely, we didn't want to overload service learning instructors by being site supervisors for everything, because of course you're also teaching. So I would say that if you're going to volunteer to do that, maybe reserve that for the remote service hubs, because that's where it really does help to have a service learning instructor be the person who's keeping an eye out for what the student's doing online, partially because these virtual volunteer hubs, there is no staff capacity to provide feedback or anything like that. So,
Okay.
yeah.
So in my case, they're both taking care of, well, one's taking care of their grandmother and the other is his father who had a major accident. So I guess they would just maybe be their own site supervisor, or they could make their grandparent or their dad.
They could, yeah. We wanted to try to make this as easy as possible, especially for the partner or the person receiving the service. So we don't want to, for the student who's helping someone who's just recovering from an accident, we don't want that person to feel like, oh, now I've got to check an email and do things, so it's case by case. But if on the other hand, they're like, I would love to really be fully part of this process. And yeah, I will give you feedback on how well or not you're helping me. That would be great. So it's case by case, and just encourage your students to ask the person that they're working with, would you mind being a site supervisor? They do need to have an email address though, because the forms go to them via email. So they have to be willing to check email and respond to the forms via email.
All right. Thank you, Andrea.
You're welcome. Other questions about the types of remote service? So if not, let me see if I can. Okay. So this is what, when I was talking about the student page, this is what the website, this is what your view looks like. And you'll notice right up at the top, and this is important, you want to make sure that you've spoken to your community partner, site supervisor, and your service learning instructor before you actually register your site. Please just don't jump on and register and create a learning agreement without having conversations first, because it may not work out. Community partners generally are used to hearing from students first and then giving some guidance as to what your next steps are, rather than just accepting people who have submitted a form right away without a conversation. And here's the links to the spreadsheets and the videos that I talked about earlier. Below that is information about our K-12 tutoring program. We had our orientations about this on Monday, but the videos now are up on the website. So if you're interested in tutoring someone in the K-12 system, and that's really geared for if there's anyone out there that's thinking that you might want to teach in K-12 and start to get some experience and connect with teachers in a classroom, this would be for you. But you want to make sure that you watch that orientation video and then follow along the steps to becoming a K-12 teacher. Any questions so far? Or anything you want to add about K-12, Renee?
I think it's important for students to know that if you are interested in a K-12 remote tutoring program, that we do have a deadline, and that's next Friday at 5 o'clock. So if you're interested in becoming, registering for the program, you need to register as soon as possible.
Okay, thanks. Okay. Again, just as a reminder, so what's possible and what isn't, all services remote, no in-person service. If you are serving via phone, you're going to be using an online app to make calls. not your personal cell phone. And so one of the things that I'm loving about the Social Bridging Project, for example, is that they've already set it up with the dialer system. So again, you'll never be using your personal cell phone number. But in general, if you're doing phone service for an organization, they will either have an app platform that they will like you to use, or what you'll want to do is set up a Zoom meeting, and you can use your phone to do that, but don't use your personal cell phone number. Now,
Oh,
even though, oh yeah, go ahead.
A student had asked a question around how they could access the videos to meet the community partners that have submitted a Flipgrid video.
Okay, so they're on our spreadsheet that's on the student page of the Service Learning website. So if you go to the Service Learning website, and actually, yeah, well, if you go to our website, you're looking and you click on the menu under Student Updates, it's going to take you to this page, and you're just going to scroll down until you see this area. And this is where you're going to see the spreadsheet listing all of our opportunities. And if you click here, here's where you're going to see the videos listing all of our spring community partners who've submitted a video. And you want to check both of these things this week and next week. I would say check them maybe every other day, because community partners are still adding opportunities, as well as they are still adding videos. Okay. Great question. And then the only other thing I wanted to say is that if you happen to be employed at a nonprofit where you're doing some kind of service, again, to the public, to vulnerable populations, and you're wondering, well, I work here anyway, is it possible for me to serve here? Yes, it is. Yes, you can serve someplace. You can serve and be paid. The main thing is that your professor needs to approve of what you're doing. It has to fit in line with the course learning outcomes. But as long as your service learning instructor is okay with what you're doing on a job that happens to deal with service and social justice issues, as long as your professor's okay, and as long as your employment supervisor's okay, then it is possible to serve on site. There's paperwork that you'll need to fill out that's also on the website. I'm not going to go into that detail because we're not anticipating this to happen for a lot of people, but there's paperwork on our website that you'll want to fill out, that you'll have to fill out in order to get approved to serve on site with your employer. You can serve remotely with your employer and not do this paperwork. We talked about, again, the importance of talking with your instructor and the community partner before registering. We have had students who started registering last week only to email us to say, oh, could you delete it because I didn't realize what I was doing. So again, have those conversations first. And again, if you've got any questions, go ahead and jump in or put them in the chat box. With that, I think, let me check the time. So we still have a lot of time. I'm going to stop sharing for a minute, and we could talk a little bit about our online forms. So, okay, so I'm seeing the question, who do I contact about the Central Coast Citizenship Project? Go to the spreadsheet, scroll down, you'll see their name and you'll see their email address. They also are a partner in our database, so you can see them that way. The Service Learning website, let's see, let me go out of the presentation and share that. So once you log into your dashboard, what you want to do is, if you were to type SLI up in the search bar, and I'm going to do that in a minute so you can see. So once you're logged into your dashboard, even if you were to just type SLI up into your search bar, you'll see the Service Learning Institute. Here's our website. Everything you need, and this will again change periodically as we add events, take off events. But for example, even if you were to just stop right here, as long as you're willing to read what you see on the screen carefully, you'll find what you need. And right here is view our service learning videos. And so the question of where do I find those videos, here they are right here. So I have to move things around a little bit. So you can find that right there on our front page. If you, though, were to go to, and this is what we suggest that you do as a student, look at the tab and you want to go to students and just click on that very first tab that says Spring 21 student updates. And you just want to make sure that you scroll down because it's a pretty lengthy page. And again, we'll add and take off things or move things around as needed. We're wrapping up Community Partner Outreach Week. And so you'll notice that once things are over, we add the YouTube of the program so that if you've missed anything, you can see it. If you watch more than one of these, you'll notice that the information about the overview gets redundant. But if you just scroll into midway to the presentation, you can hear the community partners that came for that day. So you'll see that our K-12 orientation links are already up there. Our science link is already up here, so you can watch the science video. And we'll be adding the youth and arts one shortly, as well as this one will appear. I see a question, do I contact the service learning partner I wish to work with via email or a Zoom meeting? That's a great question. Start with an email. Start with an email introduction, give them your name, the fact that you want to mention that you are a service learner, interested in serving with their organization, and you can end the email by just asking, and what would be my next steps? They'll get back to you and say either we've got a form for you to fill out next, or they might send you a link to a Zoom meeting. So go ahead and, but start with an introduction via email. Other things on the page that are useful. Again, here's where you'll find all those spreadsheets that we're talking about. Here's where you'll find all the information for those of you that are interested in tutoring. And again, going back to what Renee mentioned about deadlines, you'll want to really, again, it's really in your best interest to read all this information carefully because it does include, deadlines. Great question. Can we join more than one service site? No. You can join more than one service site if you happen to be in 2 different service learning classes. But if you are in one class, you need to sign up with one partner. And here's the deal. Let's say you sign up with a partner who says, I've only got 10 hours of service and you need to do 25 hours of service. What you're going to do is complete everything with that partner. You'll be entering everything via online time log. And then if you sign on with another partner, you're just going to make sure that you leave clear notes in your time logs that says basically the rest of these service hours relate to, another nonprofit named, and you want to let your professor know. They can read those in your note field, but you're not going to be registering with 2 different partners. Let's see. More stuff about tutoring. Here's the information that I talked about. If you happen to be employed with a nonprofit or with a for-profit where we have a student, for example, that's going to be serving with a private company that provides services to disabled adults, and she already works there and she has to go in. So in her case, and in cases like that, you're going to make sure that you fill out all of these forms to request basically an exception to serving remotely. What you're asking for is permission to serve where you're already going in terms of for your job or maybe for a paid internship. So you're only doing that, you're only filling out these forms if that's your situation. Let's say if you hypothetically, register at a placement and then change your mind or click on the wrong partner by accident when you go to register, don't worry. We can delete that, and you can't delete it yourself. What you're going to do is enter your information into this form and let us know. For example, do you need help with registering your placement or deleting a placement or finding forms? You can actually request help, or you can request a variety of help, but you can also, if you just tell us that you want to delete your placement, we'll do that, and you'll get an email saying it's done so that you can then register for another service placement. Let me pause. Any questions or by any chance did we get Immigration Task Force back? Okay. Here's where you'll find all the steps to service learning. And so, again, then this week and possibly for many of you next week, you're identifying a service learning community partner. Your next step, once you've found someone, and again, it's been okayed by your professor and the community partner, we suggest that you complete a draft learning agreement worksheet. This is what it looks like. And this worksheet, basically the information, how it's formatted, this is what you're going to see in the database online. This is what you're going to be filling out online that then is going to be electronically or sent via email to your partner and to your instructor for their signatures. But we suggest that you take a look at this worksheet, fill it out, and you're going to do that by, you have to download it yourself and then fill it out. You're not turning this into us. You're only turning it into your instructor if they ask for it, but it's really for your benefit, because if you do fill it out, then that way you can and you make sure that you've put in correct email addresses, then you can just copy and paste the information when you go to do the actual registration. The one thing that hangs up people's registration is entering incorrect email addresses, whether it's a typo or just having the wrong address altogether. So you want to make sure that you get all your information gathered and organized before you jump in and register. Once you're ready to do that, let's say you've done the worksheet, you then can register on MySLP. And we have instructions here. You'll notice that as soon as next week, like by Monday, this whole area will be up higher on the webpage because people will be at that point where they're fully registering, but we will have these instructions as well as more instructions and videos. But just so that you know what MySLP looks like, if you click on the link here, and here we go. So my screen looks a lot different, but you just want to make sure that you've logged into the dashboard, and when you log in, your page is going to look a little bit different. I'm actually going to stop sharing because I can see this is like grinding to a slow halt. But that's what the MySLP somewhat looks like. What I can do is let me go back to the PowerPoint and share that instead. Any questions so far? And I still don't see Saul on the call. The service learning student leaders are visiting classes. They've created PowerPoints about their service. So if I can quick search for it, I can maybe pull that up and you can see Immigration Task Force. I'm looking at a question. Oh, if completing the service hours required, is there a possibility to maybe get a paid internship from the site where you volunteered? Absolutely. One of the greatest benefits of service learning for many students has been that it has led to paid work. And for some students, it's inspired them to create things that didn't exist before. So if you happen to be on the peninsula or come to campus in the fall, we have a farmer's market in Marina. It's quite large. It's also spread out throughout the Monterey area. That was created by a service learner. So there's just lots of opportunities, whether it's to create your own organization or, as you were asking, to be hired by a partner. Okay. So since MySLP was a little slow, let me just actually, Renee, if you wouldn't mind talking about this while I look through and see if I can find the video for Immigration Task Force, that would be great.
Yeah, so the page right now that you currently are looking at, this is a login that's gonna pop up on your screen when you do click on MySLP. It's the same username and password that you use for your CSUMB email. So once you go ahead and sign in, then you're able to look at your home screen and you're able to identify your courses and you're able to already start your registration and your placement process. So um, as you see here, this is an example of a student that we created just as a test student. So that way we could show you all exactly what it is that students look at when they log on to their MySLP home screen. And if you see this, you have your course number and the section that you're registered for service learning. So only your service learning courses will show up here, not all of your courses, because this database is only meant for service learning. So you do see that once you log on, you're gonna have the black browse button. You can browse sites and look at what's available on our database. The green button is when you're ready to place yourself in an organization. You click on that button and it'll take you to the area where you sign up and see what organization it is that you're going to be signing up with. Once you do sign up at an organization, that green button will turn red and it'll automatically tell you like, oh, you have been placed at a site. This right here is an example of the release of liability. Pre-COVID, all of this information was in hard copies, so you would be able to take this this release liability into your faculty and they'll submit it to us at the end of the semester. But now we have it online, making it more accessible for you and the faculty as well. So you'll fill this out, you'll sign it, and then you'll click submit. And that's step one of the process for you starting your registration. Once again, it is an online document, and this is the step to starting your registration. As you can see, there's also a second document that you'll need to fill out, which is a learning agreement below your release of liability. You can see either if the faculty or the community partner has signed your learning agreement. If the learning agreement is not signed, then you would email your faculty and your community partner that the learning agreement has not been signed. So once you do sign that learning agreement, that's why Andrea mentioned earlier, it's important that you have the right email of your community partner or your site supervisor, because they're going to be signing off. They'll get an email and that email will notify them that they have a learning agreement pending to be signed for you, the student. On the right-hand corner, after you complete your documents, you could create your time log. You would click on that and it'll take you to, adding an entry for your time log. This is an example of what the time log looks like. So the green area would be the time that you actually went in to do your service. The red area would be the time that you left your service. So this student, an example, went in at 2:45 and left their service at 2:45. So it automatically calculates your hours, so you don't have to put in calculated hours. On the right-hand bottom corner where it says, how has the activity contributed to the goals and mission of the organization? It was a requirement, but we took it out because we want to see exactly the reflection and the observation that you're doing at your site. So in the bottom box, you'll just fill in, what it is that you did at your site. So that way both your site supervisor and the faculty could see the work that you did during those hours. You would click save and it'll take you back to your time log entries, or you could click save and add another time log entry and it'll just be a blank entry form so you can fill out another time entry. So it's important you as the service learner to talk to your site supervisor around when the site supervisor is going to need you to submit your hours to be approved. You can only submit your hours once a week, and that the goal for that is for students to not send their site supervisor a bombardment of emails regarding 2 or 3 hours that need to be approved. versus if you talk to your site supervisor and you say that Fridays would be the day that you submit your hours, you could add all your hours on Monday to Friday, submit to your site supervisor, and your site supervisor will sign and agree for the hours that you completed during that week.
So again, it's a lot of information. If you're ready to register, if you come back tomorrow or Friday, we can help you with that. And then starting next week, we'll have regular student office hours, drop-in hours for registration, and that's on Tuesdays and Fridays. We're almost at 11:30, but we do have the link to the YouTube, so I'm gonna share my screen one more time. And actually, let me first click on the link. Pause. All right. And then, sorry. I want to make sure I share computer sound. All right. All right. Immigration Task Force, and really cool partner that is co-managed by one of our service learning student leaders.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sol Rivera, and I am one of the coordinators at the Immigration Task Force. So today I will be presenting to you on that. We have been working with the Service Learning Institute. Every semester, we do take a handful of students and assist them in gaining knowledge, gaining skills, and really becoming. So the Immigration Task Force empower immigrant communities by providing them with the information and knowledge that is sometimes harder to find. So we work to alleviate some of the anxieties, bring awareness, whether it be through protests, flyers, whatever it may be, we are there. Currently, with the Biden-Harris administration, we really want them to hold true to their word. And so this semester, we will be defining what it means to add pressure, whether that be phone calls or sending letters to your representatives or being out in the streets. We really want to define what that looks like with our service learners and go from there. So our students this semester will be attending workshops, gaining a deeper understanding of immigrant rights movements. We have weekly meetings to discuss thoughts, current events, how we're feeling, how classes are going. It's really a debriefing space. And then every student has an individualized approach when they work with me because everyone has different circumstances during this time to make sure that you finish your hours. So we really worked well with our students. If you would like to do your service, you can contact me there. My email is grivera@csumb.edu. Have a great day, everyone.
So example of another partner that also works with immigration in addition to the Immigration Task Force, which I talked to earlier. So with that, if there are any questions. Oops. Sorry about that. Okay, so are there any questions? Any other questions before we close out?
I'm not seeing no questions on the chat, but once again, a reminder, if you have any questions regarding your placement process or you're having a hard time reaching some of the community partners, please come into our drop-in hours so that we can help you out. That's Thursday and Friday. You can find the schedule on the Service Learning website on CSUMB.
Thank you. And thanks, Pam, for sharing the link. And again, good luck, especially and for those of you that are new to service learning, drop in when we have those office hours, and ask as many questions as you have. We're here to help. All right. So with that, thanks everyone. Have a really good day.